Revelation 21 has a really cool section that picks up in verse 3. It simply says, "And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, 'Look, God's dwelling place is now among the people, and he will dwell with them, and they will be his people. And God himself will be with them and be their God. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death, or mourning, or crying, or pain, for the old order of things has passed away.' He who is seated on the throne said, 'I am making everything new.' Then he said, 'Write this down, for these words are trustworthy and true.' He said to me, 'It is done. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. To the thirsty I will give water without cost from the spring of the water of life.'" My dad just had his birthday, and my father is very much so colorblind. My dad has never been able to tell the difference between pink and gray, red or green, which is kind of an issue at a stoplight. Like, it's just crazy. Basically, his life is without color. So we decided to get my dad a pair of glasses that supposedly help people who are colorblind be able to see all colors. And we did this with a great amount of skepticism. We'd seen the videos, we'd heard about the videos, we just didn't think they were real. Like, come on, there's no way that that can happen. So sure enough, we gift my father, our father, these glasses. He puts them on and he goes absolutely silent. We notice for a moment that his chin kind of begins to quiver. And we begin to realize, as he struggles to answer our most basic questions like, do they work? We begin to realize they do work. There was a whole series of balloons set up right across from him, and my father began to point out the different colors of each balloon. How? Still, that makes no sense to me. But he could suddenly differentiate colors that he could not otherwise tell the difference his entire life. He noticed the color of the wallpaper in a way that he had never noticed before. Plants that he had walked past for years, he suddenly realized the actual color that they were. There was a point where I caught him going outside and he was simply just walking his own property as if for the first time, looking at each and every detail and the colors. He noticed the differences in the color green that he'd never seen before. I told him at one point, I said, "Hey Dad, why don't you go into the living room? You know, you have a fireplace. Why don't you go look at what fire looks like?" He was just dumbfounded at what fire actually looked like. And at one point, we went out and stood amongst the trees and observed a sunset. And he was just silent. He had never seen anything so beautiful in his entire life. And the thought hit me that I think to some degree that's really all of us. All of us actually exist to a certain extent, blind to what's actually awaiting us in the new heavens and the new earth. Sometimes we think the church is just like that's going to be what heaven is going to be. Sometimes we think that heaven is just going to be a never-ending church service, an endless song and playlist of hymns with dusty pews and old hymnals and the angels guarding the doors, and we're going to stand up and sit down for all eternity, and God's going to make us stand there and just sing, and that's what's waiting for us. In that case, who would ever want to die? But I think sometimes we think that the most fun and enjoyment we'll ever have is going to be, in fact, in this life. I think that's why sometimes we live the way that we do, because it'll never be better in the corners of our minds. But see, what I read, Revelation chapter 21 says actually in the new heavens and the new earth, there'll be no more crying or pain. The new heavens and the new earth means the way that this life was meant to be before sin marred up the whole thing. before sin took the richness and the beauty and the splendor of what was actually meant to be. See, in heaven you will know the sound that the color green makes. In heaven, you will understand the song that the rivers and the valleys and the ocean, the stars and the mountains have been singing. All creation have been singing up to their Creator, our God, since the very beginning of time. Our breath will be more beautiful and full than anything we ever knew here. Shades and shadows is all we have in this life. Dimensions that exist that we've never even fully comprehended. And we will live out life with the passions that God gave us underneath the glory and the splendor of Jesus. Those passions, those interests, that came from God. And we will be doing it all underneath His glory, His majesty, and His splendor. We'll be worshiping Him for all eternity. See, in that way, I think that's what happens for all of us. Those glasses for my father, they opened up a new reality, a new beauty that he had never seen before in his life. And I believe that when each and every one of us close our eyes and pass to the next and new reality for all eternity, we will have a reaction beyond that of even my father. The fullness of creation, the full intention of God's design will be revealed to us. And I believe all of us will struggle to get out a single solitary word. We will just simply be in awe of the beauty and the majesty of God's creation in its perfection and in its perfect form. All of us. No more sorrow, no more pain, no more tears, no more memories that plague us, in perfect bodies, in a perfect heaven, in a perfect earth, living out our passions before the glory and the splendor and the presence of our God.